Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel we'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody's not aware of this, this is a journey with investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategical compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the case against Meta Materials bankruptcy. We're also going to be looking at MMTLP and how the 10Q S1 could potentially lead to monetization. And before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So first headline here from Yahoo Finance, we can see that in terms of the stock market bounce back, Nvidia has been named as a top rebound stock as Wall Street is arguing over whether or not the recent slump has been done. And from investing.com, we can see that Morgan Stanley are reiterating the need for a 25 BPS Fed rate cut in September. So let's see what happens. And in terms of US economic data this week, let's see in terms of the key things that we are watching very carefully. And Tuesday, PPI inflation. Wednesday, the big one I think is going to be CPI inflation. And also the other one that could drive the markets forward is the jobless claims on Thursday. So another huge week also for earnings. And I think the big stocks that we will be watching in terms of earnings this week include Cisco, Walmart, Baba, Signal Lithium, JD, amongst others. So in today's video, I'm also going to be sharing with you a reaction from George Paligaris with regard to the situation of Meta Materials. So before we do that, referring back to the previous video, question here from Kelvin. He stated here, Ali, I hold 700 shares of Meta Materials. So after the bankruptcy, will I get any compensation? And what should I do next? Can you give me some information? So this was covered in the previous video in terms of potential measures we could take against the board of Meta Materials right now, and were they deliberate in terms of their attempts to do what they did. In terms of Meta Materials, it's still trading, so you can actually go ahead and sell. You're not going to get much. We're going to have a look at the chart shortly, but obviously in most cases of bankruptcy, the creditors will obviously have to be paid, and it will be up to the auditors with regard to a level of priority, and usually I would assume that the shareholders will be low down on there. What Dregox has also stated is he finds it strange that they would have posted record earnings in terms of the $12 million sale of nanotech earnings. In terms of the quarter share price, could have potentially rebounded, and then asked for share offering from shareholders with a current tiny float. So obviously, did they not want to fight one more day like the investors? So again, an important question for the shareholders to respond there in terms of why they did not do that. So let's have a look at the chart. So if you remember, as soon as the news broke there, we can see the huge spike down. It hit very close to 50 cents. It did rebound up to in excess of $1. So a chance there for somebody to get 100% return from the 50 cents to the $1. It's currently consolidating around about 84 cents. But this is certainly not where it should be trading in terms of a true value. Let's now have a look at George Paligaris' response, and what he's posted earlier is that Friday's Chapter 7 fire sale announced by the Meta Materials board is deeply saddening and extremely disappointing, and it could have been avoided. Over the previous 12 years, he has been working with an extraordinary team. He's been looking at building the company from the ground up, also looking at Meta Material and nanomaterial technologies. And he also states here with regard to leading global brands, partners, suppliers and customers as of September 2023 included Tesla, Valeo, AGC, AGP, BAE Systems, PPG, amongst others, including SpaceX and Samsung. So a significant amount of high priority names there. It then goes on to say, I laid out a $45 million plus recapitalization plan. I'm assuming that was to the board. And obviously Meta and their financial advisors were aware of this, but obviously it looks like they considered it and it was not something they wanted to go ahead. And he says there the plan was going to secure the next phase for the company with bridge financing as well. So he was assured that the $1 billion potential claim with West. Now this is interesting, and potential claim with West was rock solid, leading to the last Meta Materials press release. So we never really heard much about this, but George has now for the first time shared that this was something significant. He states here critical facts, the size of the claim and the names, broker dealers, market makers, etc. were kept under wraps for reasons unknown. So I'm assuming now the board that were just in charge of Meta Materials would have been aware of this, and obviously it looks like it could be potentially being swept under the carpet. So it goes on to say in September last year there were also additional financing offers, and now we are left with hoping that the trustee of Meta Materials will hire Wes and his team to continue the case. So I don't think I'm too confident of that based on George's post, but it goes on to say the board's rejection of the recapitalisation proposal leads to the outcome basically selling off a profitable business, which we know they did, was just the tip of the iceberg. And then he goes, the management and advisors have conducted a series of fraudulent activities which he will be bringing to light. So that is a very strong statement. It's a very strong allegation. It's an allegation that you can only make if you have some evidence of that. So I'm assuming George does. And he goes on to say the reality is that neither Jack Harding nor Uzi Sasson visited the majority of the tech sites, met with the senior management teams, or had any plan to create wealth. And again, I do accept that, and I think that is certainly the situation as it appeared. So in his opinion, they simply did not care. They were either completely ignorant or much worse, which would indicate it was something they did deliberately, which is obviously serious, and that could lead to action in the future. So he states here, despite all of this, he remains still Meta Materials' largest shareholder. He did not sign the original gagging order, so that explains why George is posting and giving his opinions and communicating with shareholders. He was certainly asked to sign this, but he hasn't. He's committed to seeking the truth, and he's looking forward to meeting the trustees of the company. So as a reminder, everybody out there, he shared here one of the press releases here, March 15, 2023. Meta Materials reaches 500 patent milestones and adds to its portfolio of issued US lithium battery patents. So that's when I think the company was at its peak, and most of these patents seem to have either expired, gone and sold off. And again, he's also shared here images of the buildings, Meta Materials in action in terms of production, the scale, the staff, and also the potential that it could have had for the future. So MMTLP, and I'd like to give a shout out here to Died Suddenly, who posted with regard to Wall Street and stated new Wall Street scandal bigger than GameStop. So certainly agree with that. He stated at least 65,000 American families, and I think I would add international families including Europe, Asia and Canada as well, have been defrauded by an elite too big to fail cartel with insider help from FINRA and the SEC. So this is basically exactly how it is. So he's referenced here Drew and stated market expert and investor Drew has come forward and detailed the massive naked shorting scam now involved, also involving a bankrupt company which is Meta Materials that we also know about, in terms of a dividend that was never supposed to be made tradable, but obviously we know it was. So the SEC and FINRA changed the rules to allow Wall Street traders to cheat average Americans out of their own life savings. I think what I would say is, rather than change the rules, I would say they broke the rules, and I would also say they broke their own rules. But they claim to be a self-regulatory organisation and also a law unto themselves. So he goes on to say the MMTLP investors are not going quietly, so I second that and agree with that, and we are still here fighting after 600 plus days. So they instead declared war, yes, and promised to bring down Wall Street if a formal congressional investigation demanding a real share count is not launched immediately, and investors are not made whole and bad actors are not held accountable. And I think the MMTLP community also know that some of these actors are also members of Congress, which is worrying and which is concerning, and something that has also been we are trying to challenge. So this is way worse than what was done to GameStop, AMC, Trump, and I would also say way worse than FTX. I would also say all of them combined, it's bigger than that. But because MMTLP is frozen, we are caught red-handed, and in the final part of the article, the crimes are complicated. That's, I think, is one of the problems that the MMTLP fiasco has created for people who do not know about it. It's not an easy situation to explain, so that is one of the situations. And bizarrely, if we look at the account, which was called Died Suddenly, and ironically the account did die suddenly. So due diligence again has posted, you're not going to believe this, but the account behind Died Suddenly texted me to inform me that the account was hacked. Surprise, surprise. He believes it is in response to the post he put out for us last night, as in the MMTLP community. Please find that post, comment, like each other's comments, etc. Interact as much as possible. So the account which died suddenly, this was the account. It had 747.5 thousand followers, and after Died Suddenly, it seems to be back, but this time with a new name, HelpX. So I'm not sure if that's a reincarnation or not, but overall, let's now move on to have a look at a post from S1 Gray, who's posted, we need, in terms of the shareholders, an imminent 10Q filing, then an imminent S1 amendment, and then we move on to the next step, which is monetization. This is one of the things that we covered in the previous video, potential monetization with the 40 million shares. And finally, let's finish off by having a look at a review of the previous week's weekly watch list, where we called out a number of stocks that did quite well. These included MGOL, that was up 68% on the week, LLY as an earnings stocks that we called, up 17.6% on the week, and still doing fairly well. CLPR, that was at 6.2% on the week. ASTS, that was up 18.6% on the week. HLN, that was up 2.1% on the week. AEHR, that was up 13.4% Monday, then closed down 2.2% a week. TNDM up 15% Monday to Tuesday, then there was a sell-off and it was down 4.6% on the week, so obviously it's always good to take profits. And finally, if you would like to get the current weekly watch list as well as a copy of our daily stock alerts, details are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.